So we have a question here by Ricardo Puma, and he asked, like, how many environments do we need for data science? And I think I'm gonna extend that also to data engineering, because he mentioned here that we have experimentation, development, test, pre-production, and production. So do we need all of that? Like from your side, I mean, how's the experience? Because when you mention something about going bigger, that means that you need to find a way of having something there installed and iteratively improving the solution. So you may need something like an experimentation side and a dev side, and then going live. So I mean, what's your experience regarding the environments for data engineering and data science?
Um, well, yes, you need a playground somewhere. You absolutely need a playground for people to test stuff and um, yeah, have a free reign of data of analytics and so on. But when you once you go into the production side, what you've done in the what you've done earlier is in the earlier years or something is you had three systems. You had your development environment, you had your testing environment, and you had your production environment. And with these tools that we're talking nowadays, you always have your development environment. That's always good, but you are usually then moving from the engineering side. You don't really have a separate test system and a production system, because the problem is once you get bigger and once your systems are scaled up, you cannot really build up the whole infrastructure again as a test system. That absolutely makes no sense, because that would be super expensive. So what you do is actually um, you build test pipelines and you work with the live data, but the output of your, for instance, of your models, that's not going to the target system. That's not going to the target UI. That's going somewhere else. And this can be a like a visualization or a simple test database or something. But the actual, like, your actual tests run on the live systems. So it's not completely a separated environment anymore. And also a good point that you had, and I want to emphasize on that, is um, the escalation. You don't want to start completely with the whole thing and build it like a $100,000 infrastructure. It's always, you want to start small, and this is why where people are always a bit confused, and they start hiring data scientists, and they think data scientists can do everything. Once you're small, and or you start small, the data scientists can do a lot of stuff. As you said, with R and Shiny deployments, you can do a lot of stuff. That's all good, and that works. But once you get into production, and once you want to scale the operation, and you need more engineering, then you need people to do this, and you need different systems for that. And that's always something that people need to have in mind. um, that it should not be the data scientist's job to handle all the engineering in a huge environment, where, yeah, in an expensive environment with thousands of customers. That doesn't really make sense to me,
Yeah.
you know.
Cool. So,
uh
and I think from the side of the data scientist, you also need. So, I think one of the secrets of being able to create a very good uh, production like system in your company is to integrate something like continuous integration, continuous delivery, something like testing for all of your things. So it's not coming only from different environments. You need to find a way of actually combining those environments. I mean, it's not going to do anything if you have a very cool experimentation environment that is
mm,
completely out of focus to the actual deployment system you have. So you need to find a way of not only combining them, but like create testing and continuously integrate and automate the process. I mean, the automation is key here. I mean, you cannot be having five different environments and having people to copy paste code from each one
No.
of them to the other one. That's going to be a mess. And I know companies that do something like that, and that's not the case, and that's not what you want. You want to have a way of actually like creating this whole implementation system where you have a system like Travis, like Jenkins, that will help you to actually move the code, do the testing, and deploy the systems.
Yeah, I actually I want to what I want to do in the future is I want to look a bit more into GitLab. I find GitLab super interesting because with GitLab you can first you can set it up as your own server, and I find the continuous integration, continuous deployment there very interesting. That you can basically build your Docker containers inside GitLab. You can test them, and and then you can deploy them on a target system, because GitLab has a like a server client mode where you can deploy agents on servers, and then you can deploy like you create a Docker container. You do your code in Python, you create the Docker container, and then you deploy the Docker container somewhere directly on some servers. I find that super interesting, and I think that that's an
That's kind of
interest.
cool.
GitLab is an interesting tool that needs more more
Yeah,
investigation
I think they're
from my
moving
side.
into the direction of doing that because they know they can't compete with GitHub in people like they can't compete in the repo world. Everyone's
Yeah.
gonna have their repos on GitHub. So what they're doing, and I think you're right because I mean I'm not an expert in GitLab, but I know they have a lot of cool things about CI and CD. So that's interesting thing there.